2015 Nissan Altima SL. Alright, so I'm going to go over the torque specs for this real quick. This is a situation that we have, and we've got a new rotor. And this caliper bracket in the book is called a torque member, okay? And these are the torque specifications for this. If anybody's interested, the type of lubricant that Nissan wants you to use is Molykote 7439. It's the same on lots of vehicles, so I just used the whatever you could get at O'Reilly, you know, just some caliper grease stuff. The AS880N grease, this stuff is some high dollar stuff. I don't think it matters that much, but if you want to go for it, go for it. Brake line 18.2 foot-pounds, caliper pin bolt 26.5. That will be this bolt here, the bolt that goes in here that holds the caliper. Now, the pin on the top, this one here on the top, is the one that has the little bushing on the inside. Okay, and then the torque member bolt, now that would be these bolts here. This one here, this torque member bolt here, has a washer. Now the torque specifications in the manual, washer gets 107 foot-pounds. If your bolt, like this, that holds the torque member, if it has a flange, it gets 123. Upper sliding pin has bushing, wheel lug torque 83. Wheel lug right here, 83, okay? So that's the jibbly bits there, quick and easy. As we can see here, this caliper's got a bunch of debris on, a bunch of grease debris from this CV axle boot that's leaking right here. I'm not gonna mess with it. It's still leaking. It needs to be replaced. Those CV axles are about 120 bucks. It needs to be replaced. I always just replace them. The boots aren't that expensive, but by the time you buy this boot here, it's like 25, 30 bucks. You get the other boot for around 30 bucks. You got $60 into it, you know, that's half the price of the CV axle. You might as well just get a new one, you know. They're so cheap. The amount of time that you'll spend doing that, and you could just get a new one. I don't like doing that, but it's a difficult item for a price comparison. So on these, I will be using Loctite. I'm going to clean these threads. I'm going to put Loctite on it. I've had a bad experience with some of these Nissans. All this aluminum and stuff and different metals. And these guys, these bolts, they start wiggling out. They don't. It doesn't seem like it has Loctite on it from the factory. There's no thread treatment on here at all. So I'll be putting blue Loctite on all the bolts. If somebody doesn't like that, it's too bad. That's how we do it. I use some fluid film. I think this is the caliper grease that I use. And I usually either use fluid film or some of this LPS3 on this hub here on the inside. I already did that, cleaned it up. I lubed that, and I'll put some on the outside here to keep everything from just turning into a nasty rotted mess. Here in Texas, we don't really get that bad of a road salt or anything, but I do put that on here for dissimilar metal corrosion because we've got aluminum alloy rim going on here, so that's how I do that. Now these shims on here, the factory shim, it's a little different. I'm not sure what the O'Reilly ones are, but there's two shims on there. I don't know if you can see that in the light. There's two shims on there. That 8439 grease goes in between there, and the AS grease goes on the end, which I just put the same stuff in both places and don't worry about it. You will get some squeal from a Nissan, and you have to be careful about that. So just make sure you put some grease in there. Alright, so let's look at some of the differences on how these things are going here. You see, this factory style pad has two shims on it. Okay, and I tried to show that earlier. And this pad assembly from O'Reilly, it just has that one shim on it. Okay, that's what the O'Reillys look like. This is the orientation that they came out, just like this, okay? This is the inner, that's the outer. And these little spring doodads are on the top. So that's what they look like. If somebody took this apart, took it off, and it all fell off on the ground, now that way you can have a look at that and see how it goes. Now these O'Reilly ones, all that stuff is all stuck on there. It's all kind of crimped on there. If you mess with it, you could get this to fall off, but they're just kind of crimped on there. So, but yeah, I actually got the wrong one there. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's more better. So that's how it looks. So I will lightly grease this area here. I'll lightly grease this area here, right there, on the caliper piston. Make sure all that's nice and clean. And then of course on the ends there, I'm going to get grease on the ends. That's important. And also burnishing the pads. There's a listing in the book about burnishing this with new, to seat the pads onto the new rotor, which I cleaned all this off with brake clean, okay? Because it comes from out of the bag, a little bit of grease on there to keep it from rusting. So you want to do, you know, a bunch of stops, but you don't want to overheat your pads. So just be careful about doing that. So I hope this helps somebody. Y'all have a great day.